They declared her dead, but her story was just beginning. One moment, she was gasping for breath. The next, she soared through a tunnel of blinding light. But instead of angels, an alien woman stood waiting, her eyes shimmering with galaxies. She claimed to know the secrets of Earth's suffering and her purpose beyond the grave. She told her something so shocking it would haunt her forever. Now, she's back to tell the world what she revealed.
My name is Maya. I am 27 years old, working as a cashier at a small grocery store in Austin, Texas. Every morning, I put on my uniform, tie my hair back, and walk through the automatic doors with a smile that does not feel real. I have learned how to make small talk with customers, how to count change, how to say, "Have a good day," even when my own day is heavy and long. But before this life, before the steady beep of the register and the smell of coffee from the break room, there was a house that smelled like old smoke and stale beer. There was a man named Carl, my stepfather, who filled every room with fear. I used to lie in bed and listen for the sound of his boots on the floor, hoping he would just leave me alone that night. Most nights, he didn't. My mother, Linda, was there too, but she was like a ghost. She would sit at the kitchen table, staring out the window at the street, while I stood beside her with a bloody nose or a bruised arm, whispering, "Mom, please." She would blink slowly, like she was waking up, but then she would look away and get up to wash dishes. I learned not to ask her for help after a while. I found my hiding place in books. I would take anything I could find, library books, old paperbacks, even grocery store ads, just to keep my mind somewhere else. Reading was the only way I could leave the house without moving. It was the only way I could be someone else, someone who was not afraid. On Sundays, I would walk to a small church at the end of our street. I would sit in the back pew, hoping to disappear, while the preacher talked about a God who loved us no matter what. I wanted to believe in that God, but I had questions. If God saw everything, why didn't he stop Carl? Why didn't he stop my mother from turning away? I asked one of the Sunday school teachers once, a gentle woman with kind eyes, and she told me, "God gives people free will, honey." I nodded, but it did not make sense to me. At night, I would lie in bed with the blankets pulled up to my chin, whispering into the dark, "God, are you there? Do you love me?" The silence felt like it was pressing down on me, like it was trying to swallow me whole. I was tired of being afraid. I was tired of praying and hearing nothing. I was tired of hiding behind books and pretending to be okay. One night, after Carl had hit me so hard that I could not breathe for a moment, I lay on my bed and looked up at the ceiling, and I whispered, "God, please let me die." And then, everything changed. I was 10 years old when I died for the first time. It happened on a hot summer afternoon after Carl had come home angry. I do not even remember what I did wrong that day. Maybe I spilled something, or maybe he just felt like reminding me that I was small and easy to hurt. All I remember is the sharp pain, the yelling, and then nothing. It was like the world turned off, like someone flipped a switch, and suddenly I was not in my body anymore. I found myself floating above our backyard, looking down at the patchy grass and the tall hedges that kept the neighbors from seeing inside. The air was quiet, and for the first time in my life, I felt no fear. I felt light, like I was a feather drifting in the breeze. I was not Maya, the scared girl who always tried to hide. I was just me. The sun was shining, but I did not feel its heat. I could see everything, the trees, the peeling paint on the fence, the broken toys in the corner, but it was like I was looking at it all through clear water. There was no pain, no heaviness in my chest, no fear in my stomach. Then, above me, I saw a light. It was not like the sun. It was soft and endless, brighter than anything I had ever seen, but it did not hurt my eyes. It felt like it was calling to me, and as soon as I noticed it, I knew what it was. It was God. It was not like in the pictures at church, not a man on a throne or a figure in robes. It was everything, everywhere, wrapping around me like warmth I had never felt before. I realized how empty I had felt my whole life until that moment. The light filled me, and I felt loved in a way I did not know was possible. Then God spoke to me. But it was not like hearing a voice. It was like the words were inside me, clear and calm. You are here because you have something to do. A wave of peace came over me. The idea that God had something for me, that I mattered, was almost too much for my heart to hold. Then God asked, "Do you wish to continue?" I did not know what he meant, but somehow I did. He was asking if I wanted to stay or go back. I did not want to leave him, but I said yes. I wanted to do what he wanted. "Then you must be baptized." I felt joy, pure and deep, even though I did not fully understand why. Before I could ask anything else, the light faded, and I fell, fast and heavy, crashing back into my body. I opened my eyes and the pain returned, the heat of the sun on my skin, the ache in my bones. I was back, but I was not the same. After that day, I could not forget what I had seen, even though I tried. I did not tell my mother, and I did not tell Carl. But one morning, I stood in the kitchen while Carl drank his coffee, and I said, "I need to be baptized." He stared at me, his eyes cold. "Why?" I swallowed hard. "Because God told me." Something changed in his eyes just for a moment. He did not yell, and he did not hit me. He just looked confused and almost afraid. "I'll talk to the preacher," he said. "Don't tell your mother." A week later, I stood in a small pool at the church, the water cool around my legs. The preacher asked if I believed, and I nodded. When he lowered me into the water, I closed my eyes, hoping God would take me back. But when I came up, I was still here. People clapped. Carl stood in the back, watching, his face pale, his hands in his pockets. Nothing at home changed. Carl was still angry, still heavy with darkness, but inside, something was different for me. I held on to the memory of that light and the feeling that I was loved, even if no one in my house showed it. When I was 13, I got very sick. I remember lying on the old couch in the living room, sweating, my body shaking with fever. My head hurt so much I thought it would break. The room felt heavy, the air pressing against me, and I could barely breathe. Then everything shifted. I saw numbers, bright and clear, floating in the air. They moved, changed, and solved themselves, equations I had never seen before. I understood them, even though I had always struggled with math at school. It felt strange, almost wrong, like I was seeing something I should not. I wanted my mother. I pulled myself off the couch, every step heavy, and found her at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, her coffee cold in front of her. "Mom?" I said, but she did not look at me. "Mom?" I tried again, waving my hand in front of her face, but she did not move. Confused, I turned back toward the living room and froze. I was still on the couch. My body was lying there pale and still, breathing softly. I stood there looking at myself, fear rising inside me. I did not understand how I could be standing and lying down at the same time. Then I felt a pull, like something grabbing me and dragging me backward. In an instant I was back in my body, the heaviness crashing down on me, the fever still burning my skin. I blinked, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I told myself it was just a fever dream, but deep down I knew it was something more. I was 17 when I decided I could not take it anymore. The bruises from Carl's last beating were still dark on my arms and ribs, each breath sharp and painful. But it was not the bruises that broke me. It was the way he looked at me, the way he said, calm as ever, "I hate you. I've thought about killing you before, but I don't want to get caught." That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my body aching, my spirit empty. I whispered, "God, please let me die." I meant it. I did not want to wake up in that house ever again. Then, a sharp pain shot through the back of my head, like a lightning bolt exploding inside my skull. My body tensed, frozen, and I could not even scream. The pain was worse than anything Carl had ever done to me, so sharp and deep that I thought it would tear me apart. And then, just as suddenly, the pain was gone. I was gone. The bed was gone. The room was gone. And there was nothing but blackness around me, stretching forever. At first, I felt peaceful. floating without weight, without fear. I thought maybe this was death, and for a moment I was grateful. But then I realized I was still thinking. I could feel my thoughts, feel the emptiness around me pressing in, and fear started to grow. Was I stuck here forever? Was this hell? I tried to scream, but there was no sound, no air, only darkness. Then something changed. It was not a light, but a presence, warm and gentle, wrapping around me like a blanket. I felt it before I saw it, and suddenly I knew it was God. It was not a man or a voice, but everything, everywhere, and I felt love so deep that it filled every empty place inside me. In that moment, I understood everything, but not in words. I just knew that I was loved, that I had always been loved, even in the worst moments, even when Carl was hitting me, even when I felt worthless. I laughed because it was so simple, and I wondered how I had never seen it before. Then I was somewhere else, a cavern filled with soft, pulsing light, the air warm and alive. I felt like I was hiding, pressing myself against a cool stone wall, though I did not know why. That was when I saw her. She stepped into the light, tall and glowing, her body shifting like colors in the sky, her head long, her eyes huge and black, holding the stars inside them. She looked like an alien, but I was not afraid. She turned to me, her voice in my mind, calm and curious. "Are you going to stop hiding?" I stepped out looking at her and whispered, "You're beautiful." She did not answer me with words, but I felt her studying me, her large dark eyes blinking slowly, full of something I could not name. Behind her, I saw a huge screen on the wall of the glowing cave, showing scenes from my life. I saw myself as a child, hiding under the table, reading a book to drown out Carl's yelling. I saw myself standing alone at church, whispering prayers I thought no one heard. I saw the moments I had tried to forget, the bruises, the tears, the nights I wanted to disappear. I turned away, tears burning in my eyes. "Why do you keep showing me this? I already know how much it hurts." She tilted her head, and I felt her speak again, gentle but firm. "You need to see." I turned back to the screen. A new scene was playing. I was on stage at school, dressed in a costume, singing during the spring musical. I had 7 solos and no understudy. The seats were full of students, teachers, and parents. I remembered that day, how I felt like I was finally seen, even if just for a moment. I realized something then, standing there in that glowing cave with the alien woman watching me. If I had died, if I had disappeared, the show would have been canceled. My friends would have cried. My teacher would have blamed herself for not noticing my pain. My mother, even in her distance, would have felt the emptiness I left behind. My life mattered, even when I thought it didn't. Зрение, ночи, которые я хотел исчезнуть. I turned away, tears burning in my eyes. "Why do you keep showing me this?" "I already know how much it hurts." She tilted her head, and I felt her speak again, gentle but firm. "You need to see." I turned back to the screen. A new scene was playing. I was on stage at school, dressed in a costume, singing during the spring musical. I had 7 solos and no understudy. The seats were full of students, teachers, and parents. I remembered that day, how I felt like I was finally seen, even if just for a moment. I realized something then, standing there in that glowing cave with the alien woman watching me. If I had died, if I had disappeared, the show would have been canceled. My friends would have cried. My teacher would have blamed herself for not noticing my pain. My mother, even in her distance, would have felt the emptiness I left behind. My life mattered, even when I thought it didn't.